Should the New England Patriots trade for Vikings superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson? That is the topic of today's show. Welcome into Patriots Today. I'm Harrison Graham. Nic Rohloff, a.k.a. Rolly, will be in here in a minute. But first, I want to hear from you guys. Would you want Justin Jefferson on the Patriots? The answer should obviously be yes. Question is, how much would it cost? Type Y for yes, N for no. Let us know in the comment section of this video. Rolly, let's get to the nuts and bolts of this thing. Our good pal Colin Cowherd speculated on what a trade could look like between the Patriots and the Vikings.
Yeah, he was a little wild. He was just like, because he's hearing rumors that with Jefferson being up for a contract extension relatively soon, how much he could be asking for, Kirk Cousins potentially on the move, as well this offseason. He's a free agent. That could Minnesota look to trade Jefferson before he has to be paid and trade up for a quarterback potentially to replace Kirk Cousins, and he kind of merged the two ideas together with one trade between Minnesota and New England, and boy, was it a doozy. In this Cowherd's trade idea, the Patriots get Justin Jefferson, the talented wide receiver. They also get the first-round pick from the Vikings this year, which is at number 11 right now. They also get their first-round pick next year in 2025, and all New England gives up is their first-round pick in that top 3 spot.
That extra first-round pick is kind of where I was like, I don't think Cowherd is reading the trade value correctly here. Now, could it be 11 in Jetta and maybe even another pick to get up to 3? Like, it could. This is viewed as a very strong quarterback class, and if Minnesota's desperate enough to get a young signal caller, perhaps. But, man, Justin Jefferson, like, if that trade's on the table, you absolutely do it, number one. But number two, Rolly, like, in a vacuum, like, what's Jetta worth? 2 first-round picks? A first and a second at least? I mean, we saw the A.J. Brown trade, first and a third. Tyreek Hill was like a first, a second, and multiple other picks. If you add it all up, it was probably close to 2 firsts. There was Devontae Adams, which was a first and a second. Like, he's younger than all of them were when they got traded, and he's arguably the best receiver in football. Like, I think you'd get 2 1s for him. So, like, you're basically saying that you get 2 firsts.
4 first-round
pick
values,
technically. Yeah, for number 3.
That's
unbelievable when you think about it.
And that's kind of where I'm leaning for this. Like, this trade offer, I do want to make things abundantly clear here. Is like the Vikings, I don't think would ever offer this much just to move up to number 3.
Like, now, if it was number 1,
yeah,
I could see
that
it.
Could be,
that's
could be
different. But 3, I don't know, man.
I don't even know if they'd be willing to offer 11 in Jefferson to move up to 3, because that's still a 3 first-round value for that 3rd overall pick. And it's intriguing with Jetta too, because like, he is young, but he does want to get paid. And you mentioned the trade value of someone like Jefferson, where it would probably have to be more than Tyreek Hill of a first, a second, and all those other picks, because he is much younger. Jefferson's just completed his 4th year in the NFL. Tyreek Hill was at a much larger state and more experienced wide receiver, and you can say Jefferson, I believe he's the best wide receiver in football. That's my personal belief. I know people say Tyreek Hill and how much teams fear him and have to game plan for him, but I mean, you just look at what Jefferson was able to do in this season in only 10 games, and then you just look at his career stats, and it's just like, this guy is unbelievable. He's on pace to set so many records in the National Football League. He's played in 4 years, and he's had no less than 1,000 yards every single season. And when he plays a full year, he's putting up no less than 1,400 yards.
I mean, if he played all year this year, like, I mean, he averaged over 100 yards a game. Let's be conservative and say he would have reached 1,500, which is on the conservative side of things. You're talking about, like, a Mahomes type of statistical start to a career at the wide receiver position, where it's like he was instantly a top 3 guy from day one and is probably the best guy almost right away. Like, he's that good. So it's like, that's why I'm just like, when Cowherd attaches that extra first-round pick, I'm like, I get quarterbacks way more valuable, but, like, the access to the third quarterback in this draft for 3 or 4 first-round picks, with Jefferson valuing the 2 of those, like, I don't know, man. Like, sometimes, like, knowing what you have, which is the best receiver in football, is like, okay, yes, we want to get a quarterback, but let's not trade a top 3 player in this sport to do it either. So, listen, if you're New England and there's some kind of offer even somewhat resembling that trade out there, I think you do it and you figure out quarterback how you figure it out. Maybe you sign his buddy Kirk Cousins. We'll talk about that later on. But, yeah, it's certainly an interesting idea and one we'll discuss a little bit more here. But don't miss out on any Patriots trade rumors, NFL draft, free agency coverage, other news items that we're going to break down this off season. That's what we do here at Patriots Today by Chat Sports. So subscribe, turn on the notifications, and never miss out. Also get going with our sponsor, Prize Picks. We're just a couple days away from Super Bowl 58, and there's money to be had, man. And you can play on a daily basis with the NBA, NHL, college hoops, Major League Baseball once that gets going as well. Download, sign up, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. 10 to win 50 on this 3-player entry. You can win up to 25 times your money on 6-player entries. Get started. You got the Mahomes passing yards. They're giving you that deal, just half a passing yard. You take the more, obviously. Christian McCaffrey, we're going to go more on him as well. And then a little goblin action with Isaiah Pacheco. What goblins mean is they give you like a higher projected stat line, which is harder to hit, but you can get more bang for your buck on it. So this is actually 10 to win like 75, actually, because you get a little juice with that Pacheco one. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get started today. Link is in the comments and in the description of this video. Go check out Prize Picks right now. So you go back to the trade, Rolly. Like, this is where you and I differ. I would still take the deal if it was Jetta and 11 for 3. I know you're a little more hesitant, but like, say you chop off that extra first-round pick, I still think I'm doing that deal. Now, you're going to have to pay him $32 million minimum, probably 35 plus. It's going to cost a lot, man.
Like, the idea here, and it's why it's kind of a tough call with Jetta, and it sucks that you have to think this way because it's like, well, this guy's the best wide receiver in football potentially and a top 5 player outside of the quarterback position. You should obviously trade for him. Well, when you think about how teams get constructed and how many guys you have to pay in the National Football League, like, if you allot, let's say, $90 million if you have a top-tier quarterback and then Justin Jefferson to 2 positions, you allot $90 million a year to a quarterback and wide receiver. It's going to be difficult to build out the rest of that roster and have a good overall O-line and a good overall defense, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I just think it becomes more and more difficult, which is why, like, it's only going to be a specific trade for me, which is crazy to say, that I would take for Justin Jefferson. Like, I wouldn't do Jetta for 3 straight up. I don't think you would do that either, Harris.
No, not just for 3.
And the reason why you don't do Jetta for 3 straight up is, yes, you get the best wide receiver in football, but if you didn't want to take a quarterback at number 3, then you just take Marvin Harrison Jr., who we would both argue could be a top 15, top 5 guy within 2 seasons of entering the NFL, and you have him at a much cheaper contract under team control for 5 seasons rather than having the pony up $40 million potentially per season. And that's kind of why, like, I'm even hesitant to do Jetta and 11 for number 3, because it's like you still have to decide where you do at quarterback, and you got to pay Jetta this crazy money. Now you get 4 total first-round picks for number 3, like the trade Cowherd mentioned. Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get the hesitation. The money thing is real. I think this is where, like, your salary cap guru on your staff really has to come into play here. Like, obviously, you can't have his cap hit be $40 million. I think what you would do is you extend him right away and you morph his 5th season into said extension. Say it's a 4-year, $135 million deal, which I think adds up to $35 million a year, whatever the case may be. But you really spread it out over 5 years because he's got his 5th year coming up. So then the cap hits are like in the mid-late 20s, which is much more manageable. You could even backload it, whereas last year is the biggest cap hit, but you could also cut him. So I think you could do something like that. And if you do that, maybe you get this guy. And you're even saying here, Rolly, you could be persuaded to change your mind if Kirk Cousins is part of the deal, someone he would already have chemistry with. Now, I don't know if the expectations turn into like Super Bowl necessarily, but you could make a strong argument that if this offseason start with Cousins and Jetta, and then you use other cap space, which would be cut down somewhat significantly, but you'd still have a decent amount, plus more draft picks. If you hit on a few, you could be a playoff team next year.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going for this. Right? I'm not taking Jetta in 11 for 3 because, well, we still have a quarterback issue. But if you sign Kirk Cousins in free agency, which comes before the draft, and now you have your quarterback set, well, then maybe I'm much more willing to part ways with that number 3 pick to get Justin Jefferson. You still stay at 11, so you can go a plenty of way there. If you want to get your franchise left tackle potentially with pick number 11, cool. You could get the guy from Oregon State, Fuaga,
Olu could be there, which, by the way, 11 is right in that range. I think between Fuaga, Olu, and Alt, one would be there. Now, you're probably not going to have the pick of the litter at 11, but I think at least one would get to that standpoint.
So then you could go the route of, like, you have Jefferson, you have Cousins, you have the O-tackle you take at 11, and then you could use 34 on another wide receiver to go alongside Jefferson and Demario Douglas, or maybe you draft someone in the secondary if you're not able to re-sign Kyle Duggar because you have now Cousins and Jefferson on the books. Like, if you sign Kirk Cousins and then made that trade, even you cut down the first-round pick coming in 2025, like, I'd be much more willing to do that, but it all starts with him right here, Kirk Cousins, because if you still have questions at quarterback after dealing number 3 for Jetta and 11, well, then it still kind of leaves you in no man's land.
Yeah, what you don't want to do is make that trade and then you draft, like, Penix or Nix or something like that
that's a disaster.
At 11, and you're just like, well, we're just praying one of these tier 2 cluster draft prospects can figure it out. Like, I think if you did go that route, to your point, you'd either have to have a counter plan to trade back up for a quarterback, or you'd have to get a veteran like Cousins or maybe Baker Mayfield or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. Jetta will make you think about stuff, man. I mean, he is a game changer. There is no doubt about it. And when he missed the middle of the season, he was definitely missed in Minnesota. So, would you sign Kirk and trade the 3rd pick for Jetta? What say you? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. We know a good QB wide receiver combo can fast track a rebuild very, very quickly. So, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to Patriots Today by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.